Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all the parents who have one or more children with type 1 diabetes for their diligence in taking care of their diabetes, as it's definitely not easy. There are many things to learn, and new challenges appear at different stages of the child's life. One of the most common challenges is having to constantly monitor their child's glucose levels, waking them in the middle of the night, sometimes multiple times, to treat a high or low glucose is one of the more frequent challenges. And if there's a child with more than one child with diabetes, then the effect multiplies. Another challenge is making sure they have enough diabetes supplies, not only on a monthly basis, but also making sure there's enough packed for traveling or for trips. Another big challenge is making sure there's a continuity of care for their diabetes at daycare, at school, after school care, with babysitters, staying overnight with friends or grandparents, basically whenever the child is not with their parents. Then there's the difficulty of carbohydrate estimation when you're eating out or at a friend's house. Young children may not finish all their food, so balancing the amount of insulin to give before eating can be tricky. And for those with teenagers, it can be tricky to balance their desire to be independent with their diabetes care, but not quite being ready for it. And there may be conflict between parents and their teenagers with diabetes around certain issues, like giving themselves insulin before eating or changing their pump infusion set when it's due. So some of the strategies to deal with these challenges are to try to minimize wide glucose fluctuations, have your child see their diabetes provider regularly, to optimize their insulin amounts for their basal rates, carb ratios, and correction factors. Write down the issues or challenges that your child has been facing and address them at your provider's visit. To keep track of diabetes supplies, put a monthly reminder at the soonest time you can place a medication refill. That way, if there are any issues with the refill, there's still time to resolve it before you run out of supply. For continuity with your child's diabetes care outside the home or with other people, first practice with your child, if they're old enough, how to use the bolus calculator on their insulin pump for meals and for correction doses. For daycare and school, babysitters, grandparents, etc., show the adults responsible for your child's care how to get to the bolus calculator and how to use it. For those giving insulin shots, teach them how to measure the insulin and administer it. If your child brings a lunch or snack to school or daycare, write down the amount of carbs for each meal or snack to bring with them. If you're giving them insulin injections, provide the school nurse or the school office the amount of insulin to give with each meal or snack. When you feel that your child is ready, practice carb counting with them. Teach them to read nutritional labels and how to look at the carb amounts, and also to make sure that what they actually eat accounts for the serving size. Estimating carb amounts can be tricky, especially when eating out or eating something new. Looking up the carb amounts on apps like Calorie King or MyFitnessPal for ballpark figures can be helpful. And for young children who may not always finish their food, give them insulin for the food you know for sure they will eat, and then if they eat more, dose for the rest at that time. For those with teenagers, ideally your relationship with them and their diabetes care would start when they are younger, being supportive and encouraging, doing things together like carb counting, dosing before eating, and so on. And praise them if they remember to do something they typically forget, like bolusing before a meal or a snack. And try to avoid blame or being punitive. If they had a difficult day with glucose control, you could say, tomorrow's a new day, we can try again. Ask them for their ideas on possible solutions on whatever issues are going on.